Hey everyone, this is Josh back with Cardboard Chronicles, and today we have a returning guest, Adam. How's it going, man?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Um,
I
we
love how you asked me how I'm doing, even though we talked for like 5 minutes before we started this video. That was awesome.
it's part of the video, man.
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good. We've been talking recently, and we were just like, let's just film a video about cards. And you're like, what should we talk about? And I was like, I don't know, let's just talk. So we're
Let's see
gonna
where this thing goes.
we're gonna mostly talk about market manipulation and maybe some like topics of flipping cards. You and I both have some cards here ready to show. And we both love cards so much that I don't really know where this is going to go, and I'm so excited.
Let's do it.
All
I
right.
have to say before we start, I'm like hanging out in my kid's playroom with random kid stuff all over the place. So I'm gonna just try to hold this camera right here like this. You can see this little sign thing I've got behind me, but forgive the kid life, but that's as real as we get, right?
Oh yeah, that's the life, day in the life of us. So I'm doing some cleanup from the last video. One of the guests had asked a question, and I forgot, and I feel like a jerk, so I'm gonna ask it now. What's your favorite rookie card Prism parallel? I'll let you start with that one.
I like the invisible parallel. That's the card that doesn't exist. It's 0 of 0. It's very rare. And no, I'm teasing. I so in my collection, I currently own one Prism card. It is a Joel Embiid Gold Pulsars. No, I own some Gobert stuff too.
Yeah,
Okay, so
Gobert
I own
auto.
more than
That Gobert auto.
yeah. Yeah, I own some jazz, some random jazz stuff too. But I mean, Prism, some of it's rare, and I like rare cards. So I would just say, the rarer they are, the better. But I'm not a huge fan.
Silver and gold, and I would love if they could get rid of everything else.
I would love if they did 2012 over again. They did a black parallel to one, and they did a one per case or one per 10 case insert to add to it. That's like 2012 was that close to being
Do
just right.
you like the green
Um,
retail?
I could do without the green.
I just feel like you have your unnumbered silver, so people feel like they can reasonably obtain that, and then the gold is like the big chase. I just feel like that's all you need,
That's all you need. I'm
and
with you.
and it's not like they didn't sell that year well. Like I don't know. I feel like they could just do that. I don't understand why they have to make so many parallels. Is it just that people feel like they have to have a parallel in every box or something or every
I think
pack?
people really love rainbows. Is one thing we've learned over the last couple of years. People want to have lots of different things to collect, and that's cool. People should collect whatever they want to collect. I have never gotten into it, but if people like it, we probably aren't. We're probably not supposed to be the judges of what they like and what they don't like. But
Yeah.
I, we've talked about it before. When we first started talking about cards, we realized, hey, we both don't like Prism really, and but having said that, you've bought some stuff recently, so it's not all bad, right? Like there's some cool stuff.
Yeah, silver rookies, and I'm getting into some of those, but I don't know. Too many colors. It just like the reason I don't like the colors is it waters down the effect of the ones I do like, if that makes sense, you know?
Oh, for sure.
It's like
Yeah. Or you look back to 2014 and they had those random like die cuts in random colors numbered to kind of random numbers. I know I'm using the word random a lot there, but it was kind of like why did they make that like that? I don't really know. I do know that even as somebody who doesn't really love Prism the way that a lot of other people do, the silvers, especially from 2012 and 2013, are really nice.
they're really nice.
And they remind you of Chrome when Chrome first came out, 96 through 98. That just very silver, shiny, just kind of glows. It's a good card. So I get it. I get why people like it. I hate when people are like when they okay, soapbox moment, and apologies if I offend anyone. I don't like it when people like just buy like 100 of the same card and they're like, "Hey, check this out." Having said that, guess what? I've done that before. Like I did it with the Anthony Davis Prism. I did it with the Kyrie Prism, and so I understand the appeal of it. But I would rather own one thing that was really hard to find than sort of like a horde of 100 of the same thing. But again, who am I to tell other people how to collect? That's whatever people want to do is awesome. That's just not kind of my game anymore.
There's a thread about like the print run of silvers, and it's like goes up like exponentially. I feel like this. Here's my only one. There's LeBron.
Nice.
These are cool, yeah. Like the first year, I feel like we're saying it's like 300 somewhere around there, and you know this last year's like 2,000 or whatever.
The print run from first year is
First,
believed
so
to be about 300.
yeah, that's what the that thread is talking about.
I have not checked that thread out. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe it will convert me to Prism. To prison or Prism?
Prism.
Hopefully it doesn't convert me to prison. That would be bad.
It's the Prism. That's the confusing part on the on the like labels for the graded cards. Prism, the Prism parallel.
At some point, didn't they change it to actually say Silver Prism?
Yes, I have a 2016 that says Silver Prism,
Which
is
is funny
much more
because,
clarifying.
well, it's like we as a hobby determined what we should call it,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like
It's
it
silver.
was called the Prism, and
Right.
Panini never called it Silver, but then it's like the collector started calling it Silver, and so now we all call it Silver. So
The question
anyway,
on YouTube that he asked has a winky face, so I feel like he knew that this would send us down this path. So I'm gonna jump out of it.
and here we are 10 minutes in. So who was it who asked that question?
I don't remember, and I apologize to whoever wrote that. I don't have it written down.
Well, thank him for derailing us before we started.
All right, let's get back on track. The first question is just I'm gonna have you walk us through like what is market manipulation and where have we seen it in the past.
Market manipulation is something that's probably the most talked about topic of conversation on the threads or on the forums, and it's something that I think a lot of people act like they understand, and a lot of people, I think probably the majority of us, don't really think about. Um, Market manipulation can actually change true values of cards, or of anything for that matter. When I was going through in college, we learned about this kid who had early on in the days of the internet had decided that he wanted to try to buy and sell stocks, and the way that he was able to create value in his portfolio was through basically going online, and it's a simple phrase, right? Pumping and dumping the stocks. But it was not always a short game. Sometimes it was a long game. Sometimes it was about creating multiple different ways of pumping the same sort of security. And then after a time, once he'd had locked in the game that he felt like was optimal, then he'd get rid of it, and obviously then he would stop pumping it, and then the stock would decrease in value. And in a lot of ways, that same sort of thing can happen in the card market. The thing that makes it more scary, and I'm not, this isn't supposed to be a doom and gloom scary thing. You and I are both people who like buy expensive cards. And so obviously, we don't think that it's, necessarily a bad decision to do that. But the thing that's scary about cards is it's a lot more easy. It's a lot easier to manipulate something that there's a very few number of. And in our hobby, where you've got people who are spending tens of thousands of dollars, they can acquire a large number of a given card and can easily persuade the market that it's worth something that it's not. Let's say there's a card with a print run of 99. If you're able to acquire 5 or 10 of those, and there are none on eBay, they're say several years old, and then you're able to slowly show that there's a sell, then you can convince the market that that's what it's worth. Most of us are good at ignoring one sell, but if you see 2 sells or 3 sells or more, then that price starts to solidify in your brain as being, well, this is real. And the thing that really scares me about that is when we were at National, there were a couple times where I saw people just immediately scroll to those completed listings and say, okay, I'm going to use that. Now, hopefully we're all smart enough to understand those completed listings are a guide or a baseline or something that we can sort of use as a benchmark or a high watermark. But they're so manipulated. I know PWCC has begun publishing completed listings. I use that probably more than anybody. You know, you look back to completed listings from, I think it's back to 2004.
Yep.
That's very valuable information, and worth points are real. Like, there's a reason people subscribe to worth point. There's value there,
Right.
but people can take that information, can change it, or can make it look like something's happening when it's not. Um, and you see people really get taken to the cleaners on that. And I just, you know, I hope that we can avoid that. Hopefully there's something that we can present in this podcast today,
Sure.
or this you know, this today that we're this show that we're doing today, that maybe can help people to sort of at least think through these things.
And one interesting thing I see with this trend is like the pump and dump person will they'll complete their task, and then it's like that's the new floor for that card for everybody else going forward, even if it was manipulated. Is that like a real thing? Like it seems to me that when this happens, it never really goes back down. I mean, it does go back down with some of the stuff like the Fleer Jordan, but a lot of it just kind of stays there.
Yeah, I think it depends on how many of the card are out there on the market.
Sure.
So with the Jordan rookie, there's no if you're somebody who's trying to artificially inflate that value, you could try for a sec, and you could even bid on a few and pay for them or not pay for them or whatever. But at some point, there's like thousands of Jordan rookies being sold every year.
Yeah,
You can't maintain that.
that's true.
But for a card that's sold 5 to 10 times a year, yeah, you can inflate that, and that solidifies more in people's minds as being the real price. I think it would for me. I think I would be more confused by something that's sold 5 or 10 times to start taking that as the real true market value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind of answers your question.
Yeah. So now I want to get into like sets or cards that you feel or know possibly that have gone through this. The Jordan rookies one. Is there anything else that sticks out in your mind? I have a couple.
You know, what I would say, and this isn't going to be the answer that you want, but I think it's just so pervasive. And maybe I'm putting on my tinfoil hat a little bit here, but I think that people, um, I think that people often decide that they don't want to see a card go down in value, and so they'll even bid on cards that they don't really want to win,
Hmm.
so that they can maintain the value of their stuff. It only takes a couple of guys doing that, and it's not even like, I don't think it starts as something where somebody's like, I'm gonna go change the value on this thing. I think it just starts as, hey, I bought this thing, I see that not as many people are buying it now, or I want people to be excited about this, I want to be able to sell this later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Jordan is a great story, right? So, like, let's refresh people's minds on it. This is 2 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe 2 or 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, a little over 2 years.
We started to see like several threads a day on Blowout. And I've heard people say, "Oh, writing on Blowout doesn't matter." It does matter, like, a lot. If you're somebody who publicly talks about like what you want to go up, you can absolutely affect that. I've learned that the hard way, and I think we're going to get back around to that in a little bit with your questions. But we saw Jordan thread after Jordan thread after Jordan thread, and what's happening is people are reading those and thinking, "Man, maybe I need to get a Jordan rookie." I mean, who wouldn't want a Jordan rookie, right? Like, Jordan's not a guy that you PC, but like, you understand
Sure.
like the significance of that card.
Of course.
You understand like why it's important. Of course you would like one, right? And if the people who you know in the hobby all started talking about it all the time, you might start thinking, maybe that's something that I need. Maybe I need to go get a Jordan rookie. And so when you see that over and over and over again in the threads, it sort of, I don't know if subliminally is the right way. It's like more it's more obvious than that. Like, you suddenly start thinking, gosh, I don't want to miss out. I'm gonna go buy this. So at one point, I even called it out. I was like, here's a thread of all of the threads of the Michael Jordan, rookies, and it got up to, like, I can't remember the number, but it was like 50 something in a month. Like, literally, like 50 something Jordan rookie threads in a month. So, that's that's how it goes down. Is people start talking about it here, bidding on it there, and then over the course of those several months, there was a point where like a 10 got up to $40,000, and then a 10 got all the way down to like $15,000 a few months after that. There might be some differences in the tens, but probably not like a almost 3x difference, right? There's something funny going on there.
It just seems like a really difficult card to achieve this with. There's just like you can't get around how many there are. You can only like push so much, but like you said, the number, the sheer volume of threads was what really pushed it, right?
Yeah, and the thing that'll add to that is grading creates sort of a subset that's different than the whole of the population. The whole of the population is tens of thousands of Jordan rookies, but I don't know exactly how many, but PSA tens, there's a lot smaller number, and so that becomes an easier thing sort of to manage from a manipulation perspective. But the thing that I would I'd change the topic, and I would go to something that's near and dear to your heart and my heart is the 90s inserts, right?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Like, it's hard because if it's something that you really want and you're willing to pay for it, well, guess what? That's what it's worth,
Right.
right? It doesn't matter what somebody's manipulated it to. That's what it is now worth. Um, but I mean, that's a very easy market to say, okay, we're gonna take this and we're gonna see this sell, and we're gonna pump that, and then suddenly, that's the item that's being manipulated. Um, I wonder. So here's something that's interesting to me. I want to know what your thoughts are on it are. So precious metal gems, the set of sets, right? 97, 98, first 10 green, next 90 are red. I own several. You own some too. Like, in the card that you're looking for, the key card to your collection, the one that you want to add is a green penny, right?
Right.
Why are those so valuable in basketball and not so much in football? Have you thought about that?
Of course. I mean, like I know what it's gonna take to get a green penny, and it's almost like sometimes I think about it, and it's like I don't want to pay it just because I know it shouldn't be worth that much, but it's like that's kind of what you have to pay. And why is it so much more valuable than football? I don't know. Like,
Like,
I mean, it just sort of like hit hard, and like people just started buying them, and like people were going after the set, and they're beautiful cards, and it's just like this whirlwind of things that happen, and all of a sudden, like they're really hard to get, and they're really expensive.
so let me like be really clear. I actually think that the value on those is pretty determined at this point. I think it's very real. I think if a Karl Malone popped up on eBay and it was at a price south of the number that I think it's worth, I would just buy it because I would believe, if I would keep it. But if I was looking to flip it, I would feel comfortable that I could because the price is so real at this point.
There's just so
But
many PC guys that have like paid the price they're worth, and that
yeah,
or paid the value that that's what they are now. Some of the guys
yeah,
that
and
you and I know personally.
right, and you and me personally, right? Like,
Right.
we have paid that, but I would question whether their initial sort of rise was all organic. I don't know that it was. And what's crazy though to think about is I'm not sure it matters, right? At some point a price becomes real. And I wonder if we could go back, 8 to 10 years when that really all started, when they started to really increase. Because even like 8 years ago, they were worth a lot of money, right? Way more than football. I wonder if we could see the signs of it, but at this point, it doesn't matter because I've got a Dennis Rodman, and I've had several people reach out and offer a lot of money. And it's not because, they're trying to pump it. It's because they would like to have the card and they would be fine paying a lot of money for it. Just like you would be willing to pay a ton for a penny green. And if I ever got a chance at a Stockton green again, um, I would pay a ton of money for it too. So manipulation's a funny thing because it can actually, I I guess the crux of all this, I would just say manipulation can create real value. It's just, I think it's rare when it does.
So is there a unintentional manipulation? Like there could be a card where someone actually is willing to pay more, and they're not like trying to. Their goal isn't to manipulate the market. It's literally just to obtain the card, and they're willing to pay it. Like we know that happens. So what is your like? I feel like in that case, there's nothing wrong with that. Like someone's just willing to pay it, so that's what it's worth. It's not necessarily like. So then you have to start
Manipulation.
as an individual. You have to almost like defend yourself. Like why'd you pay double what it last sold for? Well, I mean, a lot of times it's like I'm never gonna see this card again. I had the
Yeah.
money. I was willing to pay double. That's what it is. Sorry, guys. It's in my PC now, right?
You're talking about something that Nat talked a little bit about on the show.
Yeah.
Um, in his interview is amazing. I I would obviously I think all of us listened to that and went, wow, it's cool to know there's guys like Nat out there who are like us, right? Um, but he talked about how when he was early on, like paying kind of crazy numbers, what people termed as crazy for some things, some of the high graded baseball stuff, and some of the, I think maybe even some of the basketball inserts. And people would say on the boards like, ah, this guy's an idiot. Why did he do that? And then you look back and it's like, well, he wasn't an idiot. It was like super smart. And some of those things, you wouldn't be able to get afterwards if you didn't get them for the price that you did. And I mean, that's how he bids on stuff. I think, um,
But I even asked him directly. I was like, "Did you know you were making a smart like investment decision at the time, where you buying all this stuff would increase the value, everyone would want it, and all of a sudden you've made a great profit?" And he like completely turned it aside and was like, "No, I never once thought about like the profit I'm making off this. It's literally these are just the cards that I want." Which is like what I
yeah.
think what is made such a positive response to him in that video is just it was like 100% genuine. I literally just want the cards.
So there was a Stockton 97 credentials up a couple of months ago, and one of those cards that just never pops up, right? And I'd been looking to add a Stockton to my top 100 that was a really nice one. And so I looked at it and I was like, I want that. I'm going to take Nat's advice. I'm going to bid like some amount that I would have thought I would have paid for that card. It's like over $1,000, right? And I totally got outbid.
Yep.
And I asked somebody afterwards. I got outbid by one bid, so I mean, it wasn't crazy. But I asked somebody later. I was like, "Do you know who this guy is who outbid me?" And they said that it was Nat, and I was like, "Flip, man! I tried, but I tried to take your advice, and then you still outbid me, dude." So anyway,
Well, he took
it's kind of random.
his own advice, better than you.
Yeah, he's better at doing that than I am. I'm on a significantly shorter financial leash, but anyway, that is what it is.
Did you see the Rodman of the credentials?
No, what did it go for?
2,600.
That one's pretty high number, right?
It's really high. Grant and I were talking about it, and we're like 2,600, because I had a chance to get a penny for 2,000, and I passed, thinking like that's just seems too high. But it's like then Rodman goes 2,600, so it's like I'm even like falling into it where it's like that's what they're worth now. What am I supposed to do? I only have a couple chances at it. I got to pay what the bid's going for, but that's sort of how you fall into the trap, right?
Well, okay, so you asked the question. You asked the question, what other cards do we worry about if they're manipulated? The one that you and I have talked about before, other than the Jordan, is the LeBron Exquisite Rookie, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that the LeBron has in common with these other ones that are with the Rodman even is that like it's so rare and so many people want it that the people who are probably manipulating them are going to be successful
Right.
because nobody's trying to sell the card and a lot of people want to buy it. I would love to buy it. I'm never going to be able to buy it because it's too expensive now. So yeah, I guess in some ways it's almost like a moot point. Like people are making more money now. There's more sort of um, you know there's more sort of dry powder, to use an investment term, out there uh, to buy these high end cards, and so maybe we just ignore it. Other than that, there are times where it's like, other than there are times where it feels fairly obvious, and you'll be able to add the card later. And in those cases, I think it's wise to understand sort of the the signs of it, and then to, you know, to do what you need to do to just to be patient and wait for it, right? I think so here's a case in point. I think that's happened with Donovan Mitchell. Like his stuff is so high. Maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe his stuff's just gonna stay where it is or go up. But like his stuff has been so high. I feel like if I wait, then in the end I'll be able to get some of the stuff that I want for significantly less than it is right now. Time will tell. Maybe we'll listen to this in a year and we'll be like, man, Adam's a total idiot. But like that's what I think right now.
Well, one of the things that happens though is like as a owner of a card, um, something may be like the price of something I own may jump, 3 to 4x, and then all of a sudden in my mind that's now what it's worth, right? And someone could offer me that new price, and I'd be like, no, because like that's my new floor. You're gonna have to go over what the new floor is for me. So I'm even like I'm just adjusting my brain to like this is what it's worth now, and you're gonna have to even go higher to pull it out of my PC, right? So it
So
just
that's
like
who you are. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
as a PC guy, it's almost like cool. You like made it more valuable for me, but it's still like part of my PC. I'm not looking to sell it. You just sort of like bumped my internal value of what I think it's worth, right?
Do you think so? That's who you are today. I have no question. That's who you are today. Is that who you were like 5 years ago? I know you weren't really collecting 5 years ago, but like before you were somebody who had a good career, able to, get some of this nice stuff.
True.
Like, would you have thought about it that way, or is that a result of the way your life has changed since then?
I mean, the question is basically like, could I turn that money down 5 years ago? Probably,
Yes,
probably not.
that's where I'm at, right? Like, I've got cards now, like where I look at the my sort of unrealized gain on them, and even 2 or 3 years ago, I never would have turned that down. And now I look at them and I'm like, nah, if I sell that, I won't get it back. And really, what difference is that extra X number of dollars going to make to me?
Sure.
I don't want to sell it. I like the card, so I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to hang on to it. And then what's funny about that is it feels like a lot of other people are doing that,
Yeah.
like you've just admitted you're doing. And so that is then driving the prices even higher, which is not what we want, right? We don't want the prices to go higher. We want the prices to stay where they are, or decrease on the stuff that we want.
Sure.
But I don't know. Maybe we do want them to go higher. I guess there's that part of us that does want them to go higher because you want to know that what you've bought has increased in value. But then there's that other part of you that doesn't because you want to continue to be able to buy stuff.
It's a really
I don't
weird.
know.
It's a weird position.
It is a weird. It's a weird hobby. It's a weird position. You're
But
right.
I genuinely feel that's what's happening with the LeBron Exquisite. Is like people that have them, they have the 9.5s and the nines. It's like someone offered me some crazy number, and it's like, well, that's what it's worth now. But I really don't want to sell it. So you're just gonna have to go higher until it's to a point where like I can retire based on your number, right? And then all of a sudden here we are.
Yeah. I to that point though, where you and I are actually similar on that. Remember the conversation we had about how much would you sell your bag for?
Yeah.
Remember when we were like thinking about walking over or going over to the show, and I was like, "Okay, let's say so and so comes up to you and he's like, I'll give you X for your bag. What number is X for you to take it?" And like we sat there and we looked at each other for a while, and it was like, I don't want to sell my bag. Like I'm not going to sell my bag. And the number is huge, right? It's like,
Yeah.
seriously, my collection's worth what? I'm not going to sell it for that. Well, why? It's just they're just cards, but it's that's how you probably know you're a collector,
Yeah.
right?
That's true.
When you're not willing, when you're like, yeah, see this card? I know I paid X for it. I won't sell it for 3X. That's how you know you're a collector.
I literally picture myself handing my bag over and that person handing me like a giant stack of cash, like this or whatever, and me like looking at it and being like, "I'll give you this and more for it back. Give it back.
Because
I'll pay you more."
because what would you do with the cash,
And
right?
then be
Like,
like, "I want those back, and I want, I'll pay you whatever you want."
what am I going to do? Buy a nicer car,
Yeah,
right? Like,
totally.
I mean, and I guess that also says that we're pretty privileged or blessed or lucky or whatever word you want to use to be able to say, yes, I have these cards that like have some value to me that I'm not willing to sell for a nicer car or whatever. Um, you've got to make sure your priorities are right, and you've got your funds in the right place, and you've got your rainy day fund and all those things. Because at any given moment,
Yeah.
this can all fall apart.
But
At any
the
given
cards are what we
moment.
want most, right?
Well, in some ways, it feels like it, right?
Like I'd rather have my cards than like basically, other than like my family and my house, like
And the non-essentials, right? Or the essentials.
which is
You
what,
you'll
like
take
food.
right, like you need, but those are all like relatively inexpensive things.
Right.
Your luxury item in your life is your cards, and that might sound silly, but there's like hundreds of people listening to this show right now that are the exact same way.
Right. We were joking at National that I literally own a 2007 Honda Civic with no air conditioning because I want to have more cards. Like all
Yes.
my friends at work have Teslas and they have Beamers and SUVs, and I'm sitting here driving like a beat up 2007 Civic, and it's like I don't want to have car payments. That's just less cards.
I guess who else doesn't have a car payment, right? Like I completely am the exact same way. People see my car. I'm driving a Rav4. It's a nice car. I think it's great. It's nicer than the car that I had before it. And but why would I buy? People are like, why don't you go with something nicer, right? Like a Tesla, like you talked about. Why on earth would I buy a Tesla, right? Am I going to sell my rare Jordan cards for a Tesla? No, but other people are going to think I'm crazy for that, right?
Well, I
So
mean, yeah,
whatever.
the people that own the Teslas, obviously that's what they want to spend their money on. That's great. So they
Yeah.
think we're crazy. We think they're crazy. That's kind of how hobbies go, and like you're sort of just in this little world of this is what I have, and I love it.
I don't I don't know when I'm genuinely interested in something, whether it be a player or a product. Um, and I want to talk with other people about it if that will also have an impact on the market for it.
Right.
And so, like, I think it's reasonable that somebody might have seen the things that I said on Blowout, and they might think that guy had his purpose was to pump and dump that product.
Right.
I think that I think I would understand that perspective at this point. That's not what I was doing. I wouldn't put together a set of something to then sell it. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Putting together a set's probably like the least profitable thing you can do in this sort of in collecting. And I've flipped a lot, bought and sold a ton of stuff, and made money and lost money. Like, building a set is not a smart thing. It's a fun thing. It's a thing that we do sort of for the joy of the hobby. Um, but I talked about it enough that I think that it could have had an impact. And I just think, I'm kind of rambling here, but I just think that it's hard to tell the difference between somebody who's genuinely interested in something and somebody who's just trying to pump it for gains. And I don't know, what do you think? How do you tell the difference between those things?
You can't, man. That's what makes it tough, right? And that's what like the next question I'll just sort of ask it and jump into my answer to your question. How can you avoid just like falling into the trap? And I think there's only one answer, and it's just like collect what you like and only pay what you are willing and financially able to pay. And if it's more than that, and you're putting things in risk because you've fallen into the hype, then don't buy it, right? I mean, it's really that simple. And one thing I always tell people is like, um, look at a card, that's up on eBay. Maybe it's auction. Figure out what you want to pay. Put in the snipe and like walk away. Because if you see like threads getting made about it, the price is going up. It goes past what your snipe's already at. Like, dude, you made a conscious decision to put in that snipe, and you need to be strong and like walk away from your price, right?
Yeah, I think where that gets difficult is what happens when you get outbid and you still really want it, and so later you have the chance at it again and you get outbid again and you get outbid again. Like it's going to change your perspective on what it's worth. But I'm with you. I agree. That's exactly what you should do. When I really want something, I snipe it
The problem is with
100% of the
the
time.
really rare PC stuff. That's the problem. Like if Penny Green came up, it's like crap. I'm gonna have to move some stuff. I'm gonna have to sell, you know, something, right? I'm gonna have to sell stuff. I'm gonna have to figure it out because it's like this is it. This is what I've been practicing for. This is what I've been talking about. I have built it up so much that like if I don't buy it, people are gonna think I'm crazy. And I thought you wanted it. And it's like you're right. I did say that. But I have my limits. If someone's like 50 grand, I'm like, no, sorry, I'm not. I'm not gonna mortgage my own financial future over this.
Yeah. I think you hit on a couple of things there that are important. You don't want to you don't let somebody else ever pressure you into thinking something is something you have to have,
Absolutely.
right? Like I like is when somebody buys something to then try to to try to sell to you at a large markup, and you can just say to them, no, I'm not interested. And sometimes you actually are interested, but you just are not going to sort of like give way to that bounty, right? It's almost like I'm gonna buy this card and hold it hostage from that guy, right? Um, the thing that stinks though is when it's something that you really, really want, right? And if it's something you really want, you probably don't have the power to do that. But when it's something that you're like, yeah, I really like, I like that. That's kind of a cool card. And then somebody tries to do that to you, just being able to be like, no, I'm good. That's a good moment in your life.
It's like buying a used car. You're like, no, I'm leaving here with my price.
Exactly.
This
That's
dealer
right.
is not gonna. But I mean, cars like aren't rare, so you can just go to the next dealer. So it is hard, especially when they dangle like the rarest of rare in front of you.
Yep. Which is
So
going to happen with you in the penny green, unfortunately.
it's gonna. I mean, I'm digging my own grave, right? Like, yeah, I'm gonna be screwed. So I want to ask you. I'm going through the. It's kind of the similar thing right now. I don't know if you've been following, but I'm going through it with Galactics. And
Ooh.
if you ask my wife, she would tell you like I get onto something and I just sort of like fixate on things and I just can't like let it go. And right now that's Galactic. So I'm
Yep.
like I feel like I'm about to create this sort of like monster. And I'm
You are.
honestly really not trying. I have like a few outlets where I can talk about it. This Instagram, and it's like all of a sudden there's like a post with 50 people talking about Galactics and it's like crap. I'm now bidding against myself.
Yep. And that's why people will say, when you're trying to pump, you shouldn't, or when you're trying to buy into something, you shouldn't talk about it. Like that's the whole purpose for Instagram, and that's the whole purpose for the forum, like is to talk about what you like. And so it's really like the worst equation in the world for us, right? Because we want to talk about something, there's a place to do it, but by so doing, you're going to increase your value, or you're going to increase the amount that you're going to have to pay for it. Like that sucks. And we've totally created it. That's our fault that it is the way that it is.
Yeah, it does suck. But I wouldn't trade the conversation about it for the like secrecy of getting them all at a lower price. I'm just not willing to
Yeah,
make that trade.
I'm with you,
Like
100%.
the excitement I get over like revealing some secret that I feel is galactic and watching everyone being like, "Oh my gosh, you're totally right. These cards are amazing. Why didn't anyone notice this before?" I'm like, "Yes, right." It's like
And
sharing in that joy of a new find.
yeah, I have this sick thing where I like to do the exact same thing that you just described, but I like it when other people are like, "No, I think that what you're collecting is terrible." I like that moment.
It's either
That
it's genius or it's terrible.
yeah, that's actually what you're talking about is exactly what happened with Flawless first year, the rookies. As I bought them, I was posting them to that thread, and and I was going to say unfortunately, but obviously not unfortunately for me, the price went up to the point where I was like, I have to sell these because it was a huge payday for me. So again, I don't know. I don't know, man. We've drawn it out. It's just a difficult sort of difficult sort of equation.
This is a tough video. I feel like we tried to give great answers, but we're kind of struggling with like we're doing this ourselves unintentionally, and guys that we love in the hobby are unintentionally doing it, and we're like supporting them, but we know it's happening. It's like
Maybe
we're
we're
part
just
of the
dumb.
we're part of the craziness.
We are.
Okay, now I have to ask you. So you're the one that asked me on my Q&A, is flipping moral. Now I want your answer because that's such a tough question, and I could just like see you kind of doing this. Like I can't wait to see what he says. Now it's your turn.
I did like that part of your last video.
You
It
watch me
was fun for
squirm a
me.
little bit.
Well, it was good because it's a philosophical question, right?
Sure.
And um, I took a philosophy class like my first year of college, and I can't remember which philosopher it was, but he talked about how you shouldn't make money off of something that you haven't improved. Like you should feel like it's moral to buy something and then improve it and then sell it for more. But just buying something and then selling it for more money doesn't provide value to the world. Like it doesn't generate anything real. And so I think about that philosophical answer every once in a while and go, man, that stinks because I've done a lot of buying and then selling things for more money where I haven't done anything to it. And so, but then again, I've lost, right? Like you're taking a chance when you buy something and then you hold it for a sec and then you sell it and you lose money. Um, I would say it's my way of couching my answer, but I would say that the answer is it's totally fine. As long as you are, and this is where your answer last week is pretty spot on, I would say, as long as you're not doing something immoral for the gain to be created. So the worst people in the hobby are the people who are altering cards. Those people are bad, immoral, and are fraudulent, and some of them should actually go to jail. Not joking, like some of them really should. Uh, People who are shilling or manipulating through false bids of any kind, that is definitely immoral. There are lines that are more blurry. You know, when somebody messages you and they say, "Hey, would you do $300 for that card?" and you say to them, "You know what? I already got an offer for 350. Would you do four?" But you haven't gotten an offer for 350.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that's an immoral lie,
Yeah,
but I think that's pretty pervasive
that's
throughout the
the
hobby.
blurry line. Yeah, that's pretty common.
Yeah. So if you're flipping and you're doing it sort of in the way that you know, in a way that is how I would deem appropriate, then I think it's okay. But the problem with that is we all have different definitions of what that appropriate looks like.
Most of the people that I encounter, you can kind of like tell when they're flipping, you know, the right way or wrong way, and it's usually like I usually tell based on like this guy's flipping in order to get the next big card or to like improve their PC or put it back into the hobby or there's usually you can kind of pick those people out pretty quick and it's like oh hey you're just like in this same game that I'm in, we're kind of competing in this card game of like I gotta get everything that I'm after and I have a goal and I'm going towards it and this is part of that goal, right? As
Yeah,
opposed to
to
like
that
you don't have a lot of cards, and you don't seem to be like itching to get the next card. This kind of just feels like you're just getting the payday.
here's a question for you. How many of the people who are out there who are flipping are looking to do it to create funds for things outside of the hobby?
Yeah, I don't know. And does that make it immoral? I don't think so, right? What if they're
I don't
trying to
know,
like
man.
what if they're trying to like fund a surgery for a family member or something?
That is a stretch, Josh.
Because that's usually what I hear when it's like, come on, man, can't you do 4,000? I need this for my.
My somebody just died. Yeah. Sadly, those things do happen too. And then when they do, we've all heard the sad fake story enough that we don't believe the real person. And that's probably the worst part of it all. We also know people who are in the hobby who like that is how they make their living.
True.
Do we think that's immoral? I don't think so. I think it's I think like I embrace it, right? I've gone through different waves. There have been times where I felt like I need to show the world that I'm just a true collector, but I'm not, right? Like I am a collector, 100%, but I absolutely buy things at times because I think they're going to increase in value.
Yep, totally.
The whole reason that I have the collection that I have is like very little to do with anything else besides I've done a pretty good job of buying stuff that then's later sold for more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's led me to where I am, right? Like I don't feel bad about that. But there have been times where through sort of the way people have asked questions or said things on the board that I felt like I'm bad because I'm like buying things and selling them for more money, and that's not good.
Yes.
Yes.
It's just like we live in America. This is kind of how it is. Capitalism.
And if you live somewhere else, that's okay too.
I'm out of words. I feel like I just like my final quote is, "You do you." Just like you're flipping, that's your thing. You're making money. Good for you, man. It sounds like you're doing what you want. You're successful as long as you are not, like you said, trimming and like doing something illegal in order to make profit at my expense. Keep at it, right? Like if someone's willing to pay that extra price, for you flipping it, like good for you, I guess.
Okay, I've got another moral question for you.
Ugh. Okay.
So we agree that trimming is bad and patch switching is evil. Although you don't collect any patches, so you don't care as much about that.
I mean, I care that like people are getting screwed
Oh
by
yeah,
that. It sucks.
yeah. I should say it doesn't pertain to you as much as it does some of us.
Sure.
Um, so it's like if I go to a car dealership and the dealer knows there's something wrong about the engine, but he says, I will tell him if he asks me a question about the carburetor, but if he doesn't ask me a question about the carburetor, then I'm good, right? Is it kind of one of those situations? Like, I don't really know. I wouldn't take something that was graded a 6, crack it out and sell it raw and not say anything about it. But I think that's closer to the line. I don't think it's appropriate. I wouldn't say that it's okay. But what if it was a 7? What if it was an 8? What if it was a 9? Like, I mean, with the new Prism stuff, which I know you don't like to see graded anyways, but if something's graded a 9 and you crack it out and sell it as raw, should you have to disclose it? What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like you should. I can like guilt free say that I've never tried to pull this one, and it's because I just feel wrong. It just doesn't feel right. It just feels weird, all of it. Even if it's something simple like that, because it's like once you're willing to like crack a 9 and sell it as a Prism card, like you're like it worked, and I'm just gonna do it again, right? Like why would you stop?
You're going down the rabbit hole that you don't want to go down at that point.
The regrading is like the one that bothers me is like you just keep reselling with the same company. But if it's like maybe you see like a quad 9.5 BGS and you're like, I feel like this thing looks great and I'd rather have it in a PSA 10 and I think it would sell better as a PSA 10. Let me go ahead and buy it, cross it over, PSA 10, make some money. I feel like that one's a little bit more than just like resubbing over and over, like hoping to catch BGS on a bad day or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're all sort of gray, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah. I I don't feel I like to try to stay as far away from the line as I can. And I do feel like there's probably a lot of people who are saying, I don't even care where the line is as long as it makes me money, I'm good. Another one that I think is difficult is and some people will argue with me on this one, but I think the question about like uncut sheets is a difficult one. Um, you know, a few years ago on Blowout, there's the famous Ken Cope thread. Do you know that one?
The jumbo ass.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Where do you where do you stand on
I
that?
just don't. I don't know that one as well as you. I came in after all that, and we talking about that at national, at the
So
hotel, and I just don't know as much about it.
so it's not a large number, but there were a few uncut sheets. And that's one of those rare sets that's worth a ton of money but not serial numbered, right? So if you have the uncut sheet, you have the completed card. There's nothing to fabricate other than the way that the card was cut out of the sheet. So how moral or immoral is it to cut the cards out of the sheet? I've been swayed on this one. I feel like it is it is pretty immoral given where the prices are and that people are buying them as pack pulled.
Yeah.
But when that thread came out, I wasn't as sure if I was on that side. I kind of felt like, look, it's your sheet. You can do what you want with it at that point. You're not trying to alter it like you would, like writing serial numbers, figuring out a way to get a serial number on a card to me is just completely wrong and bad, right? Like that's fabricating something, but cutting doesn't feel the same to me.
But was he
It
trying to
doesn't feel
sell
as
it as a die cut card? Like he was
he
trying to
was selling
sell it
them.
as a pack pulled card.
He was selling it as an original. I mean, all he did is he sent it into Beckett, right? He sent it in and said, "Hey, grade this." And then they came back 8 5s and 9s.
That one feels like immoral just because like as a collector I'd like to know that someone pulled this thing out of a pack and it didn't come about in some roundabout way, and to me it's more valuable knowing having the story of like this was pack pulled by
I
some
agree.
random person at some random shop.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
think that's
altering my perception of the value.
yeah. What's hard about that one though is, oh man, it's identical, right? Like it is literally the same thing, other than the date and by whom it was cut by. It's identical. That's that's very different. So yeah, I think we land in the same place though. It's immoral, but anyway, this is good. We're figuring out like the morality of the hobby at this point
Like
and
on the
what's okay and
fly.
what's not. I don't know why we think we're experts. We're probably not, but
We're definitely not, but like I feel like we're just sort of the average collector guy that a lot of people would be able to relate to.
right. And we're honest about it, right? We're not like, I mean, it doesn't do us any good to say, say something else right now. We're just kind of iterating on what we think, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
What else you got for me?
Show me some cards. I have three to show, and I want to see some cards.
Okay. How much more time do you want to take? I know we've been doing it for a while. I don't want to take too much time.
As long as it takes to show all these awesome cards.
Okay. Pick a number 1 through 7.
7.
So this card is a card that I got from Joe that I showed off on my Instagram. Sorry about that weird glare.
SP Authentic
I,
Joe?
yeah, SP Authentic Joe.
Oh, sweet.
This was his avatar for a while. Sorry, there's that funny glare on it, but it's an original 71 Maravich graded at a 6, largely because of the left to right centering. Autographed. What's super cool about this is that autograph is as nice of a Pistol Pete autograph as you're going to find on an original card. It's signed in the right place, in the right way. It's the best sort of known card with a Maravich autograph. There's two cards that are graded 6s by PSA DNA and none higher. So that for me goes on my top 100 list as my key Maravich card, which
Sweet.
as an original jazz guy is kind of a cool card for me. So
I feel like I'm going to eventually get into vintage. I'm just not ready yet.
yeah, we were talking about the Chamberlain before we started. You and I have to talk more about the Chamberlain stuff. I've
I
got
just need to
lots.
know, like, I need like an entry point Chamberlain that's like not too expensive that I can get my hands on and see what it's like.
Have you thought about a Chamberlain autograph?
Of course, Chamberlain autographs are awesome. That was like one of my favorite cards at National. We went to the Instagram thing.
Adams cards.
Adams cards. He had like sweet Will Chamberlain autos, and I know I've seen him. I've seen him around, but it's like in person, they're just such great cards. He has a really cool auto.
To make it even cooler, and going back to the pumping conversation that we had earlier, there are only 4 Will Chamberlain autographs, right?
Yep.
There's the Legends, the Epic, and then the Incredible. The Incredible has 1 to 13, and the Legends has the Gold to 100. The Gold to 100 is actually not that much rarer than the regular one. When it comes to how I think about prices, I think the Legends is the best priced one currently, followed by the Incredible, followed by, I mean, you can't find a Gold Incredible. It's impossible, right? Like that card doesn't exist. I've seen one that was owned by another guy named Joe and then sold to Tristan That's the only one that I've ever even seen. Anyway, so yeah, a gold Chamberlain or a Chamberlain autograph might be a good way for you to go.
Yes, I feel like I need one of those guys. Those are sweet.
Why don't you show off one of your three, and then I'll take another turn.
I picked this up kind of in secret because a lot of people know I'm after it, and I nabbed it. Let me take it out of the thing. I nabbed it on eBay. Sorry. This is one where Abra on the boards would be like, "Take it out of the sleeve, you idiot."
Yes.
96, 97 Flair Showcase Rose Zero, the original.
Is there a nicer looking card anywhere than that thing?
I don't know, man. Like Abra sent me this really. I sent it to him. I was like, dude, I finally got it, and he sent me just like this fantastic message, and it was just like all the reasons that it's the best card ever made, and like all his favorite things about it, and it was just like, man, you're right. Like, I do love this card. The way you describe it is so awesome.
That year, 96, 97 showcase, I opened one pack at the card shop that I worked at, but before I worked at it, House of Cards in Salt Lake, and I pulled a Kobe Rose Zero, not a Legacy, but just the regular Kobe Rose Zero. And I just remember looking at that thing, the way that the Rose Zero sparkles,
Yeah, sparkles. Yep.
and the back is just really soft. It's super nice.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'll say about the showcase stuff is it feels like there were a lot of the uncut sheets backdoored
Yeah.
at that stuff, and we've seen a lot more pop up through the years, and so that just always makes me nervous. But not a better looking card on the planet. I love it.
All right, next number 4.
Number 4.
No, 2.
Number 2.
Because I already said 7. 27.
Okay, we'll do this quick. I showed this off on my Instagram recently too.
So
Yeah, I love this card, dude. This was actually sitting on eBay for a while, for like a week or so, and the guys who listed it had it as a buy it now of 1,000. So I offered like 500, no response, nothing. It just sat there for 2 days. They didn't respond to me. So then I offered 550, no response. I offered 600, no response. Finally, I was just like, what do I have to do to get you guys to message me? I messaged them like 3 or 4 times,
yeah.
no response. And then finally, like I talked them down to $800. They're like, we'll just do it for 800. And I was like, fine, I'll give away. But the thing I wanted to point out on this, as I've talked about on my Instagram a few times, Anthony Davis does the coolest thing with his autographs. He signs his one of ones differently than he signs all of his other cards. So all of the non one of ones that he signs these days, everything since about halfway through his rookie year, he signs just AD 23. But yes, like that. And that's still cool, right? He's still one of the best players in the league and everything. But the fact that he takes extra time and does that, I bought 380 one-on-ones now just because I just think that's a really cool, super cool thing. So anyway, I'm usually long-winded. I was long-winded there. That's it.
We talk about AD a lot, you and I, just because like I feel like he's underpriced still for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Giannis is like twice as good as him, but I just don't see that he should be twice as valuable in a lot of cases.
Who's the best player in the world right now?
LeBron James.
You think so?
Yes. I mean,
how sure are you of that?
The best player, the way you said that, like the way you said the phrase, the best player. He's just like the best basketball player on the planet. But I already did. You saw my thing. I have Kawhi and AD 2-3.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think Davis might be the best player in the world.
All right, I'll show my next card, and then you'll be wrong.
Okay.
Okay. I've had this one for a while, and you and I kind of have a story about this one. And I don't know if I think I want to tell the story. Right?
Yeah, do it, man.
Like I submitted it.
Yeah, do it.
I submitted this card. This is the 2003 Finest LeBron Refractor numbered to 250, and it looked just so great to me. And I hadn't really graded a lot of cards at the time, but I submitted it finally and came back trimmed. And I was like, what the heck? I looked this thing over. I measured it against other cards. You looked at it and you were like, dude, this is not trimmed at all. Like, they messed it up. So I ended up buying another one on eBay, thinking like I'll get one that's like definitely not trimmed, I guess, and I submitted both of them just because like I just remember you and I having that conversation. I was like, I'm gonna submit both of these, and I know it's not trimmed, and both of them came back nines. So I don't know, like, is that like an immoral? I'm subbing it too many times to get it not trimmed. Like the card wasn't trimmed; they just screwed it up.
No, man, they just messed up. There's nothing immoral about that.
And now I'm super excited because this is just like a really tough condition card. Like the edges on the back are always really messed up because the card's red, red on the back, so it's always got like corners and it's a thicker card. So happy to have that one.
Another one that we talked about at National was the white suit XRC finest rookie. If I was gonna buy a LeBron James rookie card, I would buy one of those two cards. I think I'll never understand why. I get the chrome is like people love it. Like those cards are, I just think they're just as nice as chrome. I'm not sure they're less rare or more rare, and one's worth, the chrome's worth multiples. I don't understand why. What's that card worth compared to the chrome?
This one's a little bit higher just because the pop's a lot lower on the nines and tens. But I would say on average, like if you compared apples to apples, it's probably, I'd say it's about half the price, maybe a little bit more than half. And there's what like there's 250 of the finest and thousands possibly of, we don't know how many, of the chrome.
So the finest refractor is worth one half what the chrome rookie is worth?
Chrome rookie refractor, yeah.
Oh, chrome rookie refractor.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. Yes. But yeah, your point is spot on. There's 250 of the finest. There's thousands of the chrome refractor. Yeah, no debate for me. I would take the finest for the price. If the prices are the same, I'd have to do more thinking. But given where the prices are, yeah, I'd take the finest all day long.
All right, number 4.
I think I just did number 4.
This video is going over an hour, and
I'm sorry, Josh.
No, it's not. I think people are just gonna keep watching, or they're gonna not watch.
I just have a hard time not shutting up. So this is one of the 2 cards in my collection that I will never sell. I've owned probably 20 different Jordan rookies through the years, including everything as high as a 9. I've never owned a gem mint Jordan rookie, but just flipping, buying and selling collections and whatever else. But I got this card when I was like 13 years old after working for 4 or 5 years to put together the 86-87 Fleer set. And I walked into my card shop just after my birthday. I had like $40 and I was able to win the Jordan rookie. And it's been folded in half at least twice, at least both vertically and horizontally. Oh, I just threw it on my computer. It's got a 0.5 subgrade on surface, which is amazing. And I will never sell that card. It's so much cooler than even, like, it's perfectly centered, although it got a 9 for centering, which is bull. Yeah, that centering is money. A 9 on that? Are you kidding me, Beckett? Anyway, look at that early serial number too.
Dude, I feel like that card is just like, there's just so many of them. You see so many of them that like I want one folded in half. Like that's the one that's different,
Yes.
It's just so awesome. Give me the one that's like totally trashed and it was in some kid's bike spoke or whatever.
Let me do another couple more because I've got 7 and you got 3. Can I run through a couple real fast?
Yeah, do side by sides.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. That's a good idea. Okay, so I've got 4 cards left. Let's do this. Okay, side by sides.
Yep.
My last card that I needed for the Eminence base set, long story, posted it on Blowout. Guys, 3 years to put that set together. Rarest base cards ever, numbered to 10. I'm the only one who likes this set, but it's the rarest ever. And Rodman, I just couldn't find one forever, so I was thrilled to get that.
I'm so happy that he's doing the kick.
Dude, I know, it's like a Fleer card, right? Yeah. It's like they got the picture right. Yes. They did. You can see that awesome etched holofoil. We're going to change my name to the etched holofoil guy instead of the 27 guy. I love etched holofoil. And then, okay, I was supposed to do a side-by-side. My favorite Eminence card, though, which is just... See, you have to have something wrong with you to not like this card. Like that is a Larry Bird game-used jersey that says USA on it from an original Dream Team patch or jersey. Are you kidding me? I know I sound like Don West right now, but like that card is freaking awesome. Anyway,
You love that Eminence stuff.
I I do I'm the Eminence guy, man.
Would it make
Like
you happier for me to say I don't like it? You said that when people don't like it, you like that.
well, I know you don't like it because you only like cards that have like that you can fit into a normal top loader, and you
Well,
would need to like glue. I don't know. You'd have to cut apart several top loaders just to be able to fit one of those cards in it.
my greatest joy at National was like you squirming when you're like, how do you not like this card? I'm like, because it's too thick, and you're like, that's a stupid reason.
Oh, that was over the Kobe Exquisite too, right? You were like,
This
ah, I don't like the Kobe limited logos. I was like, dude, this is like maybe my most valuable card, and you were like, no, I think it sucks. It's like fine, whatever.
it was just like funny banter after a while. Like you just got so worked up.
National was so much fun, dude. I'm so glad you and Rodman got me to go. It was awesome.
It was great. We had a fun time. All right, I'll do a side by side because I like pumping cards just as much as the next guy.
Boom!
Double Galactic.
Double LeBron.
Dude, I love Galactic. I'm not even gonna be able to. I just love it.
What percentage of us collectors do you think are obsessive compulsive?
Oh, like all of us,
Like
every single one.
90%, right?
It's like what? It's a hobby that's like based around it.
Yeah.
It's like
All
literally
right.
the term collecting is like I have to be obsessive and get them all right.
Okay, so talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old because I don't know the answer to this. So Revolution is a Panini product, and they have a parallel that's called Galactic. Is that right?
Yeah, they have a few parallels. The Galactic, and most of them are numbered. There's like Cosmic. Nate's gonna get mad at me because I'm gonna butcher this. There's Cosmic, Astro, Infinite. There's like a few of them. A bunch of them are numbered. I think Cosmic's numbered to 100. There's like Lava numbered to 10.
Lava.
Lava's a newer one. It wasn't in the original sets. And then there's Galactic, which is not numbered, which is the reason I'm so hyped on it because like I feel like people are just like sleeping on it because it's not numbered. But for me, it sort of like brings me back to like rare '90s stuff where you're not sure how rare it is, but you kind of can feel that it's rare because you don't see them very often.
Yes.
And it just
That's
like
always cool.
it just like gives me a little bit of extra. That's kind of cool that it's not numbered, right? Like you kind of have to like think about it.
Yeah, I think that is cool. I think it sounds to me like you just described like if Panini said, we need to make another product that's like Prism, but it's just all space related.
Mm.
So you really just, I mean, it's basically just Prism 2.0, right?
But the autos are on card.
I'm just teasing.
There's a genuinely like rare, and the Galactics just look effing cool. Like I don't really know how else to describe it. I'll have to show you in person, but like it's just like there's so many different patterns on it and all different lights that hit it. It's crazy.
You do you, man. You do you. That's what
Yes,
we,
that's our
right?
new
Like
thing. That's our hashtag.
we were hanging out at National and we realized, man, we like totally different stuff, but it's all good, right? Like it's all good.
Like totally.
And when I got that final Rodman, you were like, dude, you finished that thing. That's awesome.
Right.
Okay, you ready for my side by side?
Yep, I'm done. So you finish this. Finish this off.
Okay, I'm gonna show you. Maybe I don't know why I'm putting these two together, but it's a card that I know that you like less than you should, and and a wilt. I only have one really good wilt, so I'm gonna show you that. And
I
then
do love this card. I love the Wilt.
You do?
Yes, I do. I love it. It's so different and unique. I love it.
Dude, I love the wilt. So the story on the wilt, I'm gonna pump it up for a second, and then I'm gonna go try to sell it.
But
Oh,
people are
wait.
like losing their minds at the other card that you just so you
Oh
know.
yeah. I'm just gonna throw that one away for a sec. So this card is so flipping cool. Like I love this card. There are like 12 or 14 or something known of this card, and this one's by far the worst condition. There's not another one that's like even less than a 6, and mine's a 1. And not only is it a 1, but it's a qualified one. It has an MK on it. The Topps company, after a long departure from basketball, they made a basketball product in '57. They didn't make another one. Fleer made '61, the '61 product. That's the Wilt Chamberlain rookie. That's a Fleer card. They didn't make anything after 57 until the mid 60s, probably 1967. They decided, hey, let's maybe get back into the basketball game. So they made a set, and it's got 22 cards in it. Almost every guy in the set is a Hall of Famer, including the great Jim King. I actually don't know if Jim King's a Hall of Famer, but I had to throw that in there as an inside joke.
I'm Googling
Which I'll tell about in just a second. But actually, do you want to tell the Jim King story real quick?
He's not in the Hall of... Wait. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, so we were at the National walking around, and we had been talking about this wilt for a while already, and then you saw one from the set, and it was Jim King, and we were both kind of like, who's Jim King? Like, who is this guy? But it's, it's a cool set, so you started talking about the card to the dealer, and he knew what it was, and like you guys were talking about the set and how rare it is and unique, and you told him about the wilt, and then you sort of like threw out a number with Jim King, and then he said no way.
He was like offended, man. He
And
was
then
offended.
later he ended up selling it for about what he wanted.
He sold it for exactly what he said he was going to. I tried to show him a comp from like a couple of years ago because the cards never go up for sale. Of the 22 cards in the set, you maybe see 2 or 3 for sale at public auction a year, and that's not just eBay. On eBay, I think there's been 1 sold over the course of the last 5 years at auction, and that was actually last week randomly. And Earl Monroe sold. But yeah, this guy showed me this Jim King. I did not know who he was, and I offered him $700 for the card. And the guy's like, "No, no way. I'm going to put it on eBay, and I'm going to sell it for $1,500." I saw it on eBay for $1,500, and he sold it like 2 weeks later. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have tried to talk him down." But the wilt showed up on eBay maybe 6-8 months ago. It was up for about 5 minutes. I found it. I bought it immediately, and like, that is the only Wilt Chamberlain card in a Sixers uniform, maybe the greatest team of all time, the Wilt 76ers, the only card of him in that uniform, and there's less than 20 of them, and I own one. That is like the coolest thing ever. And as a vintage guy, a guy whose first love is vintage, I mean, that is just, it just does not get better than that. I don't know what this card is worth. I paid some crazy amount of money for it, but I don't know if it's worth more or less than that. But there's just nothing. You're not gonna, like, nobody's gonna buy this card for me. It's like, it's so cool. Okay, and then the other one, I didn't do a very good job of showing both of them at the same time. I don't know why I would. Anyways, they're like, there's nothing similar other than they're both basketball players.
Really good ones though.
Yeah. Can you see the holofoil on that?
Yep, the molten.
Dude.
So sick.
With the serial number cut out of the card.
That's cool. Yeah, I always like that.
Right there. I mean, it's just. I want to redo the top 100 list and put this as number one.
No.
I do, especially after Grant got one of the PMGs, dude. I was like,
I feel like I got in your head with that.
Me.
I feel like I got
like Grant has everything. He even has like my best card, but I've got that one, and so let me show it one more time. And I know Nat has one. I know one other guy who has one. So I know where 3 of these are in the world. Like, that is the Jordan insert, the rarest Jordan insert in existence. Right? Wouldn't you say? Isn't that the rarest Jordan insert in existence?
Like, by physical numbers, yes.
Well, isn't that how you define rarity, Josh?
Yes, of course. The less of them there are, the wilt is rarer, right? We don't even know. You don't even know how many copies. To me, it's more fun, like, not knowing how many copies.
Yeah, and I say there's like less than 20 known, but that's just because I'm looking at population reports. Yeah. I can't imagine anybody has one of those wilts out there and is like, I'm not going to grade that. I mean,
right, sure.
It's just such a key, important card, and yeah. Anyway, so I think that wilt might be my favorite card. That and the Bird USA might be my like most untouchable cards that aren't like cards from my youth that I just will never sell. And I like them for totally different reasons. But the thing that is similar is I feel like they're both historic. They're both something that is just super unique, and if I was to sell it, I would never ever get it back. And then the Jordan's cool probably because it's either my most valuable or second most valuable card, and it's super rare. And the other thing I'll add about the Jordan actually is um, some people speculate that the 98, 99 Jordan Fleer inserts are rarer than their stated number, like the high voltage,
Yep.
right?
Totally. Yep.
It does not feel like there's 500 of those out there. It does not feel like there's 100 Playmakers Theater or 100 Slam Bams or 250 Bams. Like they just seem rarer than that. And so, a molten metal hasn't gone up for auction since I think it was 2015. And before that, it was like 2009.
Mm-hmm.
They just never come up for sale.
That's what makes collecting so much fun. Is like I have something that almost no one else can have, even if they wanted it, right?
Yes.
That's why I don't like Prism. Because everyone
That's why Prism
can
is
get
terrible.
it at any point, anytime you feel like it. I can get a silver Prism of anyone I want.
Except for the invisible 0 zeros. You can never find those.
The golds of the first year are very tough to find. Obviously, there's only 10, so those are, I think, have some value and some cool rarity to that one.
Your Lillard's cool too.
I like
It's really
Lillard.
cool.
Yeah. You've
Are you gonna,
what?
are you gonna get a Davis?
I'm trying. Yeah, they're hard to find.
A PSA 10?
Whatever I can get.
Wait, wasn't that Lillard in a BGS case?
It is. Yeah.
I thought you broke everything that was in BGS.
Oh, you, Adam, so silly.
Am I wrong?
I've changed, man. I'm evolving. Just keep up.
Why? What made you change?
Because this one isn't necessarily PC. I'm expanding into other things.
No, that's good. That's good.
I've been told I was too rigid on my PC, and I determined I agree with that, and I need to start opening up some avenues to purchasing other cards that I feel are undervalued.
You may be able to sell for more in the future.
You manipulated me into vintage just from this video.
That's what I wanted to do.
I'm so excited because now I feel like I'm going to be on eBay after this looking at wilts.
High grade wilts, not from his rookie year.
Done. Okay.
60, 69, 70 tops, tall boys, number 1.
Okay.
Do some research on that card. Some of them are marked with a pen mark on the front.
Yeah.
I have to believe it had something to do with like the way that the cards were cut.
Yeah.
Do some, like, that's a really cool card. 60, 69, 70. I actually really like 73 just because there's not a lot of them out there. You're going to hate it because it's not a good looking card. And you love a good looking card. So
either really good looking or just like so plain that it's awesome.
So for everybody out there who's still listening, which might be less than 5 people.
This is the last thing. I'm going to cut this.
Okay, but for everyone who's listening, Josh likes cards that are on paper thin stock. He needs a full body shot of the player, and he needs shine.
And no patch. If you give him, and no patch.
And no patch. If you can get those 4 qualifiers on the same card, Josh is going to buy the card.
You just like described Galactic, basically. And
I'm not wrong.
And rare.
I'm not wrong.
But it's like that's me, right? And I don't even it makes me happy now as you describe it.
If this is the worst episode that you've ever done on the show, I apologize.
I'm gonna end it right now because it's a great time to end it. So stay on the call though.
Okay.
See ya.